702.
The Naked Scientist.
Time for the Naked Scientist. Dr. Chris Smith is with us to answer all of your science-related questions. 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Doctor, I'm going to ask you the question around exhaustion, and I've had so many people, and I've also seen some content creators sharing that there's a millennial-specific exhaustion which is happening, but others saying phones, lack of vitamin D, lack of vitamin B, and the food changing, the water changing is why everybody is so tired. I'm not sure if you've experienced anything like that or have heard people speaking of it, and some say they noticed a difference after COVID outbreak and the lockdown.
I've got exhaustion with how many prime ministers we've had in the UK in the last 10 years. I think it's 10. I think we're at something
It's a
like
lot.
It's ridiculous,
It's a lot.
whichever the
When
number
is
is.
it your turn
Oh, I
to be
don't
the
know.
Prime
I
Minister?
wouldn't touch politics with a barge pole, and the answer overlaps with the answer to your question. To be perfectly honest, because this whole business about exhaustion and tired all the time, and we see this a lot in young people who have no excuse for being tired all the time. I'm a little bit older now, and I can think I can be a bit more relaxed in my approach, but. If you think about how life has changed, when we used to go to work, when I first entered the workplace, okay, email was in, but largely work arrived at the rate at which the postman could deliver mail.
Yes.
News arrived at the rate at which a newspaper could print it. And a newsreader and the news agenda of the day would be set on the radio or the television by what was in the newspapers. And so there was this time during the day to report, reflect, and then news gather and move on. Well, look at now, and there's an always-on existence, isn't there? Everyone's on a device, which is force-feeding them a continuous stream of stimulation. And when people say, well, I'm going to relax and look at some stuff, actually, you're still being presented with information your brain needs to process. You're being distracted by these things. Even when you don't want to be, you're being distracted by these things. The opportunity to sit and immerse yourself in self-reflection, thought, a good book, the environment, this has all been snatched away. And so people are continuously being bombarded with work, with family issues, with reasons to feel miserable about yourself, and it makes people feel or feel they have to continuously stay on top of this stuff or they're going to miss out on something. And if you think about what social media does, what sorts of things do we put on there? Well, do we put on there all the downsides of the day? No. When we're feeling a bit down, we don't say so. When we're having the most glorious time, we tend to shout it from the rooftops. So what we're all presented with is a barrage of everyone else having a good time, which compared to us feels like we're having a bad time. And that makes us all feel depressed. And if you feel depressed, you feel low and tired because it's one of the main symptoms. So I think that this is all a product of the digital age. And I think we need a digital disconnect, and we need to be much better at managing our exposure to this kind of thing, because it is making people work. Even if they're not working, they're working ridiculously long hours. Your brain is working all the time by this constant and incessant stimulation that it's basically being made to dance someone else's jig rather than set your own tempo. And you need to divorce yourself from all that stuff and set your own timetable from time to time. And that helps you to decompress. When you're dancing someone else's jig, you feel much tireder because you have no control compared to when you are setting the pace and you're setting it at a pace that suits you. So you don't feel tired. You know you can run all day because that's you setting the tone, setting the pace. That's not the same pace for everybody else. And so we're basically being forced to run at everyone else's rate all the time. And it's a changing rate, which is inherently stressful. So I think it's all these factors that make people feel tired all the time because they're cognitively exhausted.
And I think definitely a disconnect is what could help. And I'm seeing somebody on the WhatsApp line saying the tiredness could also be depression from Lean Alberton. Please, if you do feel like your exhaustion is impacting your day-to-day life, go see a doctor. Sometimes they run tests. It could be hormones, it could be deficiencies, it could be so many other things as well. All right, we go to the first question. Dr. Chris, how bad really are processed foods for us? How badly are we being lied to by companies?
Well, there is this whole idea about ultra-processed foods, and that people therefore think there's some kind of mystique and something mysterious and special about ultra-processed foods that makes them bad for you. There are some things that have been highly processed that are perfectly good for you. The processing isn't the thing that does it. It is the fact that what you're doing by processing food is you're making it more palatable, you're making it potentially more energy rich, and certainly energy dense, and because it's more attractive to you, more likely that you'll overeat it. So it's perfectly possible to eat processed food and be healthy. You shouldn't do that exclusively, because there are sometimes things when you process food that you lose some of the stuff that we do need. So put that to one side for a moment. It is more that when you make these foods extremely attractive, extremely palatable, extremely tasty, and extremely available, you encourage overconsumption. And if you have overconsumption, you have overweight people, which is exactly what we've got around the world. Everyone is becoming fatter with each year that goes by, on average. And as a result, we now have a world record-breaking rate of obesity around the world, which is linked to many, many health issues. And upstream of that is a poor diet, and a poor diet can include processed food. So taking a step back and saying, well, what do I need for a healthy lifestyle? You need the right kind of calories in the right number, in the right sort of context, and not to leave anything out of your diet. If you're getting all your calories from cans of fizzy drink and lots of sugar to the detriment of having enough soluble fibre, fruits and vegetables as your sources of those sugars, then you're probably eating a bad diet. And the processed food is the canary in the coal mine that's saying you're eating the wrong sorts of things in probably the wrong sorts of amounts, and that's going to add up to ill health.
Dr. Chris Smith, 011 883 0702, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702.
The Naked Scientist.
10 minutes to 3 o'clock. We continue with the Naked Scientist with Dr. Chris Smith, 011 883 0702, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. We go to the lines. Poloso in Centurion. Hi, Poloso. Go ahead.
Hello, great show as always.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank
Chris,
you.
I want to find out, does the 3 seconds rule apply when it comes to germs and food?
So does the 3-second rule apply? I thought it was a 5-second rule.
The fact that we can't even agree shows how spurious this is. The answer is no, it doesn't apply. Because think about it this way, okay? If there was a massive turd on the floor and you dropped your toast on it, would you pick it up and eat it? The answer is you'd say no, because it's got some of the crap off the floor on the toast. Well, when you drop your toast on the floor, there's all kinds of stuff on the floor that you just can't see that's now sticking to your toast. And if it were a turd on the floor, it would be the same. So the answer is that there is no evidence that it makes a blind bit of difference. If you drop your food on the floor, it's had contact with the floor, there are microorganisms on the floor, and if you're worried about those microorganisms, it doesn't matter how long your toast has been on the floor, they're going to transfer some of them between the floor and your food, and therefore, if you put that food in your mouth, they're going to transfer into you. Now, if your floor is spotlessly clean and you've disinfected it to within an inch of its life and sterilised it, and you are comfortable that the only organisms there are present in very low amounts, just like your tabletop, fine. If you drop something on there, it doesn't really matter how long it sits there, up to a point, then it's not going to collect many germs. But if that's a manky bit of floor that people have walked on, they've walked in from the outside where there are all kinds of rubbish out there, then that floor is a good cross-section of the microbes that live in the environment, in the floor where your feet go, and therefore anything that touches it is going to pick up some of those microbes, and some of them could be pathogenic, in other words, capable of causing disease, and you're going to pick them up. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get an infectious dose of those microbes, because for some microbes, you need to get exposed to quite a few of them to catch the disease. For other microbes, though, you need to be exposed to single numbers of them to catch a disease. Take norovirus, for example, a virus, not a bacterial infection, but that is the cause of millions of cases of gastroenteritis every single year, and the infectious dose of norovirus is less than 10 virus particles. And if someone's been ill in an environment, they're spewing out enough norovirus to infect the entire world population, and I'm not exaggerating. So you can see that any kind of attempt to apply these rules is destined to break down. So the bottom line is, if you excuse the pun, that if you don't want to get ill and you drop things on the floor, probably better to chuck them in the bin. if you're comfortable the floor is completely clean because you just washed it and that there hasn't been all kinds of animals and things walking all over it, you might want to take your chances. Up to you.
Doctor, I'm going to admit that I've done the 5-second rule and also I've done the
So
if you
have I.
just blow.
So have I. And the thing is that but now say the next line, which is for my children's food.
Oh, yeah.
Or for the mother-in-law. I dropped the mother-in-law's food on the floor and I blew it clean and she didn't mind.
You are the worst, Doctor. You are the worst. All right. Another question says, please ask Dr. Chris about being intolerant to certain fruits or vegetables. I love fruits and vegetables, but I've noticed certain fruits and vegetables make me nauseous. I also noticed if veggies are cooked, I can eat them without feeling nauseous. Is there a treatment that can help with this? This is from Mohammed in Lenasia. I nearly said, Mohammed, are you pregnant? But
well, in this day and age, who knows? But the bottom line with this one is that when you cook food, you change its chemical characteristic. Plant foods contain a lot of soluble fibre and starches, and they also contain a lot of cellulose. And that cellulose is the roughage. That's the stuff that our guts struggle to break down. But it binds a lot of water, and it's really important for having a healthy bowel habit. But the microorganisms in our guts, unlike our own intestines, digestive juices, can break this stuff down. And if you have a particular makeup of microbes in your gut, which can occur because of prior exposure to antibiotics, certain diseases, certain environments will select and certain diets will select for these microbes. What this does is it basically leads to certain microbes overgrowing, and when they're then fed certain foods, they respond by producing various signals and chemicals that can irritate the gut. They can also produce more gas than other microbes, and this can then lead to sensations and symptoms of discomfort. So it might be that in Mohammed's case, there is a particular combination of bowel bugs, or there is an underlying condition like celiac disease, for example. But in the case of, he's talking about vegetables particularly, but it could be that there's an element of dietary intolerance there, which is leading to an inability to break down certain things in the food, and this is overfeeding the microbes further down the gut, and they're then responding with explosive growth and extra gas production and so on. So if this is a new thing that's only just started happening, sometimes it can occur downstream of infection or because you've had antibiotics or something. If it's something you've had for a long time, it's more likely to be a reflection of your body's makeup. And in some people, this is just how it is. In other people, it can be an acquired thing like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, but sometimes it can also be because there is an underlying situation like celiac disease and that kind of thing. So if you do have this, it's been long term, it is worth getting it checked out, because it might be that some kind of investigation can be done to find out what the diagnosis is, or help you with an elimination diet where you slowly remove things from the diet until the symptoms stop, and then you can work out what tends to cause it, and then you know to avoid those foods, and then you don't get the problem.
All right, we've got a quick voice note coming through.
When it comes to permanent laser treatment, does it really work? Is it really permanent? Well, to remove the body hair, it's something that I'm considering getting.
Okay, so depilation, permanent depilation. The way this works, when we remove hair from different bits of the body, if you pull the hair out with sticky surfaces or wax, for example, you remove the hair at the root, and therefore there is a delay between the hair coming back again and it being removed, and that's why you have a period of smooth skin surface, but it does inevitably come back. Other treatments can actually remove the hair completely and damage or destroy the follicle. And one way to do this is with laser hair removal, because you use laser, which is absorbed into the hair because it uses the fact that the hair is dark, and the laser light is then funneled down the hair into the follicle, which is the clutch of stem cells that make the hair. This concentrates the energy in the follicle and zaps it, so that with successive treatments it does stop growing, and if you lose the follicle you lose the hair, so that kind of hair removal can be permanent.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris Smith. We are back together next week.